From the halls of assembly, you'll hear us scream and shout. Our love of Indiana is manic and devout. Everything we discuss in unique manner. We won't be satisfied until we hang another banner. Us two goofy guys go by names of Ward and Eric. And as you probably know by now, we're Hoosier Hysterics. Hoosier Hysterics. Hoosier Hysterics.
Hello, Ward.
Hello, Eric.
Are you recording?
I am recording, yes.
Very good. So we're off to a good start. To a good start.
Wait,
it's a new year.
Why'd you say it like that?
It just felt like it's the beginning of a new year, and it would be very us to not hit record. So that's why. But I'll tell you what, even though it's a new year, some things stay the same. And one thing that stays the same is that we are, as always,
really smooth with our intros.
And roll it.
CommunityCars.com, sponsor of the pod, Hoosier Hysterics. CommunityCars.com, Hoosier Legends talk with Ward and Eric. CommunityCars.com.
CommunityCars.com, our friends at Community Cars, your friends. If you've had any experience with them, you know that they're your friends too. If you have any issue with a car, I know a guy who heard about you just have flip it and reverse it. I know a guy who heard our show, heard about Community Cars, went and got his car from Community Cars, but was having a problem with another car in the family and called Community Cars to see if they could help him. They helped him get out of that horrible deal that he made with some other dealer, and he got his second car from CommunityCars.com, because that's what Community Cars does. They treat you like family, whatever your budget parameters are. They're not going to make you feel bad about anything. They're not going to make you feel like you got to take a shower after dealing with them. You're going to walk out of whatever interaction you have with them, email, phone, in person, and you're going to feel good about the experience you had and know that your money is going to a family and a company that supports the local Bloomington area and the Southern Indiana area and supports IU athletics, women's sports, men's sports, NIL, the varsity club. They've been a huge part of IU athletics for decades, and they're going to continue to be. And we're just excited always, every week, that they don't cancel their sponsorship with us.
Well, I'm waiting for that shoe to drop. 2025 could be the year.
Could be. Any day now. Any day.
And I just think it's worth noting, because this is where my headspace is these days, is that for any of you wondering, yes, Community Cars is in network. They do take Blue Cross.
Very good. I'm glad. We've been meaning to say that for a while now. I got to tell you a quick story. So I've been trying to talk to you. We've been playing phone tag for the better part of like 4 days now.
We have.
I went to a grocery store in Burbank, and I'm wearing, an outfit similar to what I'm wearing right now.
Quadruple dorking?
Maybe exactly the same outfit I'm wearing right now. Could be. It's IU head to toe, literally head to toe. Shoes were IU, hats IU. And I'm walking towards it with Holly and her son Flynn towards the entrance of the grocery store, and a middle-aged woman passes me, and she looks at me and she goes, "I love the IU stuff." And I'm like, are you a Hoosier? And she says, "Oh, yeah, big Hoosier." And I'm like, "Oh, that's great to hear. Where are you from?" She goes, "You've never heard of it." I'm like, "Where are you from?" She goes, "Peru."
Yeah.
And I go, "Peru? My best friend is from Peru." And she's like, and of course she's going to know who you are, right?
You would think so.
So I'm going to give her a shout out. Melissa Ross.
Oh, Melissa Ross. Okay.
Are you just saying that, or do you actually know her?
Well, I'm assuming she's a part of the Ross clan, right?
Well, here's how you might know her even more.
Okay.
She used to babysit for Jared Frank.
Okay. So Missy
She definitely knows your dad. She knows your dad.
She didn't go by Missy?
She told me Melissa Ross, but maybe because I was accosting her in a parking lot, she didn't give me her nickname.
Yes, that's true. Well, because look, there's like Jeremy Ross, there's Fred Ross.
I mean, let's not go through
Tina Ross.
There's Jeffrey Ross, the famous comedian.
Well, I'm talking about only Peruvian Rosses. So obviously, if she babysat Jared, she's older than us.
She's probably 10 years older than us. She's
Okay.
probably 10 years older than us.
Yeah, I'm not sure if she'd be connected to the Rosses of my age.
Okay, well, it was hilarious. She knew you. She knew your dad. She knew Jared Frank very well. So you'll have to ask Jared about her. But just goes to show you, wherever you go, there's a Hoosier doing something interesting. In this case, shopping. Oh, important. In this case, shopping for sliced turkey at pavilions. All right.
I guess with the new framing of my new computer, it's not going to be a problem. But if during the did you see that?
Yeah, now I see it. Yep.
But no, it's not my Indiana shirt. It's what's happening every 10 seconds through my Indiana shirt. You'll see a green flashing.
Oh, your heart.
That's my new heart monitor.
You're Iron Man.
Yes. Yeah. I don't think there is any uranium involved. I'm hoping it's not something I permanently need in the center of my chest to live. If it made me fly, I would make that sacrifice, but hopefully it's just for the next 10 days.
Does it beep if the heart rate gets too much? Because in one of our interactions, I could definitely see the heart rate. You're wearing this. This whole thing has been a ruse to just get out of doing the podcast from now on.
Look, Eric, the thing keeps beeping. Clearly, this pod is not healthy for me. No, if I have any kind of symptoms, which really of what they described to me, the only thing I've had post-stroke is dizziness, I got to give it a firm double tap. So if you see me go tap, tap on my chest, you'll know it's getting too heated in here.
Okay, and then I should call 911.
That's correct.
Well, it's a good thing you got this heart monitor today and not during the IU basketball game where a 16-point lead in the second half where we looked like world beaters turned into a 2-point lead with Penn State having the ball. But look, win by 1, win by 100, especially on the road. You got to win games, and they won a game that they have not been able to win recently against Penn State on the road. Now, that was not a typical road environment. It wasn't. It was 9,000 people, and a few thousand of them were Indiana fans.
And a cool place.
Very cool. Not a hostile environment by any stretch.
No.
But let's talk about the first half was fine. We were mediocre. We scored 29 points. Umar Bala was dominant. They didn't have anybody who could stop him. But from the opening possession of the second half till about, 6 minutes left? So those 14 minutes, man, we looked freaking awesome.
For all the bullshit we've all been dealing with and we've all been talking about, it all kind of went away for that stretch. And you just get sucked right back in to being a big old Indiana fan. And you realize what it could look like, not with some hypothetical, theoretical team of other talent in another season at another time, but with what we have right here. If we are forced to play modern basketball with only one viable big, it can be pretty fun to watch.
And when you've got Mbako and Luke Goody, and Trey's been shooting well this year, and Miles Rice out on the court, you have 4 legitimate threats to shoot the basketball that they have to guard. Mm-hmm. And with Ballo down low, no one can stop him. He got hit with a bullshit foul, that offensive foul they called in the first half, which on its own wasn't a big deal, but then seconds later he picked up his second foul. So, but look, man, they looked really good. And I'm just going to say this. For me, somebody asked me on Peegs, that, you've said that you don't think Woody will be the coach next season. Yeah, I have said that. But for me, these are parallel paths. I can root for Indiana, and the administrators that run Indiana need to have their eye on the future. But I root for the team in cream and crimson, and I want us to win. I do. I really do. I wanted us to beat Penn State. But if you're asking me about the future of the program, no, I don't think that the current coach, Mike Woodson, can lead Indiana to the promised land. I don't. But can we win a bunch of games this year? Ward, you've heard me say this from the offseason.
Yeah, well, I think you've been doing that to be like, look, We've got so much talent. Don't be fooled if we win a bunch of games against mediocre talent. It's not the solution to our problem. And
I agree with that.
our problem is not winning national championships. Our problem is not winning Big Ten championships. Our problem, honestly, is not even getting like the inability to get to the Sweet 16, right? These
on a
are our
consistent
problems.
basis.
Yes, on a consistent basis.
This
So
team has the talent
Yes.
to still compete at the top end of the Big Ten. The Big Ten sucks. It sucks. I mean, if you guys have watched the Big Ten Network or Peacock, Iowa, Maryland, Ohio State, Penn State, Rutgers, Minnesota, USC, they all suck. They do. None of them are imposing basketball teams. You have Michigan State, Michigan, Illinois, UCLA, and us, who I think have legitimate talent and legitimate chances to be good basketball teams. I don't think any of those teams are great. Compare it to Auburn, compare it to a healthy UConn, compare it to Duke, to who? Tennessee. Yeah, compared to Alabama, no, I don't think that we have that level of talent in the conference. But if you're just going on paper talent, I still think we have more paper talent than everybody in the conference. By the way, I think Purdue is mediocre. I think Purdue and Wisconsin are mediocre teams. I do. I think they're mediocre. And I think throughout the course of the Big Ten season, they're going to beat enough of the other Big Ten teams that are ranked decently high that everybody's ranking is just going to kind of do this. Like, unless somebody wins 10 in a row, which seems unlikely. But that's kind of how I see the conference and I see our team.
Well, it is amazing how let's say a couple of good games, because with Ballo, why ever he sat out a game and now Malik out for a couple of games, and it sounds like he's going to be out for more than a couple for a while even. Woody is being forced to play a more modern style of basketball. Like it was not his choice, and I hope, I anticipate even we'll continue to see what's kind of been found. Now, other coaches, other matchups, we'll see. I think it'll go well in Assembly Hall. We'll see in true road environments if this translates. It did look like the mental fortitude of the team was going to crumble, but did not. So did they find something there? The ability to hold up in Philadelphia, far from home, even if it wasn't truly in the nest of an enemy. All of these things will be interesting to watch between now and the time Malik comes back, who, mind you, when he left, was our leading scorer. So, and Ballo was kind of thrilling to watch, honestly. Like, he was electric at times, and just that he was be able to log the minutes he did and keep the energy up, it was kind of like, I didn't even really know if he could exert that much energy in the course of a game. So can that all hold up? We shall see. But if this does continue and we're enjoying these basketball games, and then Malik comes back and Woody puts him into the starting lineup next to Ballo, and it all goes back to what we've been doing since Woody got to Bloomington, I believe he should be escorted from the building right after the opening tip-off.
While the game is going on.
Oh, absolutely. Just like don't even wait for a timeout.
I want to bring up IU women's basketball because they had a massive game over the weekend against the number one team in the country, the UCLA Bruins. And first quarter was a weird game. UCLA goes up big. Indiana makes a big comeback. 18-16 at the end of the first quarter. Second quarter, Indiana scores 5 points in the second quarter and doesn't score until about 8 minutes into the quarter. It was bad. And UCLA goes into the half, I think, up 12. And then Indiana's third and fourth quarter basically outplays them, like plays them bucket for bucket. We do not have the talent of the top teams in the country. We just don't. And the truth is, we haven't either. Even when Mackenzie and Grace were there, we don't have the high-end athletes that other schools have. And there is one reason why.
NIL?
That's it. We do not have the NIL resources for women's basketball to compete at the highest level with South Carolina and UCLA and Tennessee and LSU. A lot of the SEC schools spend. Even some of our Big Ten opponents spend more money on women's basketball than we are giving to our women. So we're going to continue to support them. and do what we can. But that, I hear so many people go, well, Terry hasn't been able to bring in those high-end recruits. Well, yeah, you're right. For the last 3 years, she hasn't been able to, even though her recruiting has gotten better each year on paper. But the big-time athletes, they're getting money that would occupy like 30-40% of Terry's budget for the whole year. So until that changes, and we'll see what happens with revenue share, how much are they going to get? We don't know. It's not going to be 50% anymore.
You can't count on our revenue share, Terry's revenue share being any greater than any other opponent, right? They're going to get that too, at least within the conference.
100%, and against the SEC. So that's really the ball game. It's us and the SEC, the Big Ten and the SEC. So that's going to need to change for what Terry gets out of the talent that she has is incredible. Yep. We have really skilled players. We have really hardworking players. We have really smart players. We don't have high-end athletes. And you see that when we play against a Kiki Rice for UCLA. You even see it when we play against like some of the players that we've played against in the past at Ohio State, Johnson from Ohio State. The big-time athletes, when we come up against them, we struggle with them. And unless NIL changes, that's not going to change. That said, we are still basking in, I am pointing to my 24-25 IU CFP skull cap, because why the hell not, man? Every day, it's like we get another transfer that makes you go, what the hell is going on? You and I, Ward, when we started this podcast, used to talk about the recruits Indiana would get, that we would beat out schools like Ball State. And right, that's who we were beating out.
Akron
schools.
Akron.
Yes.
We get real heated recruiting battles with Akron.
The Pittsburgh D-back that they just got today, we beat out Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, F you, Lane. F you, pal.
North Carolina, Bill Belichick.
Your favorite coach of all time.
And Michigan. Like, that's who we beat out for this one D-back. That is awesome. We know what we did for the quarterback, who we beat out. We beat out Georgia, and was it Miami that was? Yeah, Miami was in on that one. Like, we've got resources. We've got a good thing rolling, and Sig pitches a good pitch to get these guys, and we want to bask in that longer, which is why we got the guest that we got today. So what do you say we just get to it?
I say yes.
Here comes our guest. Here comes our guest.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the parade of perennial football greatness continues. We have another very special guest today. We're going to soak in the glory of what was the greatest season in Indiana football history with our guest. Eric, who is this gentleman we have with us today?
Hailing from Ashburn, Virginia, which might sound familiar because our guest last week was also from Ashburn, and we'll talk a little bit about that. He attended the Flint Hills School, where he played, I believe, every position you can play on a football field. He led his team to consecutive private school state titles. He was a 3-time first team all Mid-Atlantic Athletic Conference at 3 different positions. Let me just say that again. He was all conference in 3 different positions. He accumulated 3,646 all-purpose yards and 38 touchdowns in his career. His senior year, 16 touchdowns and 1,844 yards. He then went to Wake Forest, where he had an incredible 4-year career at Wake. He had 15 touchdowns and almost 200 yards in his 4 years at Wake. And then he made, after being third team all ACC in 2022, he made the best decision of his life. And he transferred to Indiana University to play for Kurt Signetti, where he helped anchor the running back room. He was the man in the backfield, leading us to the greatest season in the history of IU football. He was all Big Ten honorable mention. The dude averaged 5.3 yards a carry, 159 carries for 848 yards and 10 touchdowns. He did go 0 of 1 passing the ball, and we're going to talk about that pass. We are definitely going to talk about that pass. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking to just an absolute beast on the football team, a beast on the football field. He bowls people over. He puts his foot in the ground. He cuts on a dime, and he's training for the NFL draft right now. Please welcome to the podcast, Justice Ellison.
How you doing? Thank you guys for having me. Thank you. It's an honor.
Of course, man. We love having you. So tell everybody where you are right now and what is going on in your life right now.
Currently I'm in Hollywood, Miami, Florida. I'm training with Bomberitos, getting ready for the draft. There's a lot of things that go in this process. So, getting my body prepped, getting my body, right back from this long season, wonderful season we had. It's a good problem to have to be able to play as long as we have. But now it's time to turn on the switch and, get ready for the next phase of life. So I'm currently here. Football is now, pretty much my life. I don't gotta do no more schoolwork. I graduated from IU, so now I'm a IU alumni. Just like you
Yeah.
guys. So I'm thankful to be a part of that. I finally got my degree, and yeah, I mean, I'm just excited, and I'm thankful for all the time I had at IU. So
Oh, Justice, so are we. So are we. I have to ask because clearly football has been your focus for a while.
uh-huh.
How is it different now? You need to grab something? Is your
Yes,
is the laundry done?
no, you're good. You're good. Man,
Beep. Got to switch it to the dryer. You don't want
there
it
we
to get
go.
mildewy.
There we
Um,
go.
how how is it different? What's new to the regimen now that you're training for the next level? How does it look different than what you've been doing in Bloomington or Wake Forest or any other stops you've made along the way?
I mean, honestly, it's not that much of a big of a difference. I think the intensity has definitely gone up. Focus of detail is different. I'm not preparing for a game. I'm not preparing for practice. I'm not preparing for, you know, spring ball. I'm preparing for, you know, running a good time and to be able to test well and to be able to have my body in its best shape. So it's adjusted a lot from my previous times getting ready. Usually I'm in prepping mode to get ready to go win a job in spring ball and all that stuff. And so you prepare a little bit differently. But for the most part, I came here before the season last year. I stayed in Miami. I came here during the spring break and I came here during the fall. And I came here to train. So I spent, the money that Coach Signetti gave us. I came here to train to pretty much get myself better because I knew going home was great, but I knew that I needed to invest myself, invest in my body, invest into my game, put that extra time in, and be with the best of the best. And so I got a great opportunity to train with Blake Corum, a lot of guys that were in this last draft, in the 2024 draft, and it really opened my eyes to kind of like to see what we could really do. I just picked a lot of people's brains, and I had a great time. So that's what I'm doing right now, and it's been pretty dope.
Getting better at football in the off season is such a different thing than like getting better at basketball, because basketball, you go get your shots up, you recreate game conditions, and then you play a shit ton of pickup basketball,
Yeah,
which is game. It's not game like from a referee standpoint, but it's competition. It's big time competition. Football though is not like that. You're not playing pickup football games, right? So can you talk a little bit about it? Really, you mentioned like it's really about the combine, right? And it is about like the 40-meter dash and things like that. How are
yeah.
you, like, let's just take that. You said you're trying to get the best time. What are you working on specifically to make you faster in these weeks and months leading up to the draft?
Honestly, it's just about working on my explosion, making sure my hamstrings are very balanced. It's a lot easier to run fast when both your hamstrings are balanced. When one is weaker than the other, it's kind of tough. Just working on isometric things and being able to really like make sure that my body's in alignment, and really just working on the details. The 40-yard dash, the L drill, the 5, 10, 5, all
Well,
those drills
time
are
out,
very.
time out, time out. You're talking to a couple idiots here. What is the L drill and what is the 5-10-5? Walk us through. We want to get into the weeds here. What's the
Okay,
L
okay.
drill?
So the L drill is basically you got an L and you're running 5 yards. You come back from that 5 yards. You go back like you're going the 5 yards and you loop around in the L and you have to circle around. And the point of the drill is to be able to see like how you open your hips up, how you turn, how's your balance, how's your base. And a lot of these drills, obviously someone looking at it is like, okay, like that doesn't say how well of a football player you are, but the importance of it is to be able to show teams, okay, this guy can open his hips, he can go, he can move the way he should move. So That's what the L drill is. The 5-10-5 is pretty much you start in the middle, you run 5 yards, you run 10 yards, and you sprint 5 yards back. Kind of like a mini, I guess you would say a mini 40-yard dash,
Okay.
but it's more so change of directional drill. They want to see, are you able to plant, keep going, move at a fast pace, and so yeah, so you do that, and then of course you got the vertical and the broad jump, which that's just from track and using your athleticism. So
When you talk about defensive ends, they talk about bend. When they talk about like deep DBs, that's where they talk about how open the hips are. Is there a particular thing that is looked at for running backs that normal people like us don't know about that's important for them to see at the combine from you?
definitely, I mean, all phases of in the NFL, you got to be strong. That's number one. You got to really be strong, and you also got to be able to have great change of direction. Like you got to be able to move laterally. D ends are going to come, and D tackles are going to come, and they're going to try to get you to turn one way from a 4th and 1, and you got to be able to change your hips and be able to get the ball vertical. And so teams need that in their rooms, and on their team and organization. That's number two, and then the most important thing is the 40. They want to be able to see how explosive can you be stretching the ball 40, 50 yards down the field. Home runners like 92 yards aren't really as realistic as people think it is. But you want to be able to have a great 40 yards because it really can show like how much value you can bring to the team. And so that's the main three things they look for: change direction, strength, and in your speed. So,
All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about strength. So is this
Okay.
where they put you like 185 and you have to bench it a whole bunch of times?
225, close though. I wish it was 185. I might get 60 if it was 185, but 225 though.
All right, so 225, how many times is good?
Wait, hold on. Just because 185 is like my all-time max, like once, and how many times did you say you could do 185?
I could get up there probably like 40, 50 times. Right? 185, yeah.
Like in a day? In a day?
In one setting.
All right, so 225. I'm just trying to do the math here. How many 45 plates is that on each side?
It's two.
It's
so
245, 180, right? It's 240. Okay. And how many times could you do that right now?
I would say if I could do it right now, I would give it about a range between 15 and 20. That's like and running back, the average is around 15 and 20. Talking to the scouts, that's like the range. If you have some exceptions where, I played with Christian Turner. He went to IU. He got last year, he got 26. So some guys end up getting a high number, but yeah, if I had to choose between what's more important, it's the speed more than the lifting.
Is there a lifting that they have you do for the legs, like a squat?
Yes, they do. The guys doing a lot of sled pushes, pulls, isometrics. To really build those glutes and build those hip flexors. You got to be really strong on the lower body. But there isn't a lower body test, but you need your lower body for the testing. If that makes sense. So
I am positive that if I just took those like elastic bands, I could not do them 15 to 20 times.
It's
I'm
tough.
positive.
I ain't gonna lie. A lot of people seem like, 225 is easy, but when you under that bar and because they don't let you just go like that. They make you lock all the way out, all the way. It's not as easy as people. It's like.
Have you ever thought of while it's happening, like so that 1, 2, just skip a number? Like just shout out, like when they get to 4, just shout out 6 and just commit to it. Just commit to it.
Hey, I wish, but there ain't no shortcuts in this game. They gonna point. They gonna point you out and they gonna tell you straight up.
All right, I want to ask this. I was going to save this for later, but I'm going to ask it now. Your nickname is Juice, right?
Right.
All right. Now, first of all, having a running back whose nickname is Juice is dangerous. I mean, like, let's just be honest. You know the history of Juice, right?
Oh, for sure. You talking about O.J. Simpson?
Yeah, the murderer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The murderer.
That's what I'm talking about.
Dangerous.
All right, but here's my question. You've got the coolest name that any human could have. Your name is Justice.
Yeah.
Have you ever in your life, whether it's in a workout where like you get the 20th rep done, or you
Uh-huh.
just broke off 25-yard run and a D back is just like at your feet, do you ever look down at him and go, justice was served?
I actually have never did that. I've never done that before.
What are you?
Never.
You're
No,
missing an opportunity.
it's because he's cool, right?
I, I just, I've heard people say it to me in the stands, but I have never. Sometimes I forget my name, Justice. Some people call me Juice so much, I forget my name, Justice.
What about this? Because, and maybe this has been in the parking lots of Memorial Stadium, that some artist or even just somebody using AI, have they not turned you into like one of these football superheroes? Like, have we not seen that online? Has that been tweeted at this
I
point?
don't know. I haven't seen
I've
it, but
seen
you are.
I've seen me with a Gavin like I'm the judge. I've seen that before.
Yeah.
I've seen that. We played at Wake Forest. We played Florida State, and that game we played really well, and I had like a good amount of yards that game. I think like 115, and some guy posted it, and I thought that was funny. So
That's good. All right. So are you in a process where you're ramping up right now, or is it the same thing every day? Like it's still a little while before the draft. How do you pace yourself so that when you hit the time that you need to be giving the best measurables, that you're hitting your stride there?
Well, for starters, we just got here not too long ago. So right now it's about pre-testing, seeing where we are. There's a lot of nicks and bruises that we've experienced during the season, so it's not as realistic as normal, and the trainers they know that. And so it's just about finding, where we are from the beginning and be able to map out a game plan. Indiana's pro day is and the combine, all the stuff is usually right after the combine, so it's like around like early March.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that just means that it's less times in most schools because Wake Forest is at the end of March. Most schools are at the end, but it's really soon for Indiana. So for the most part, it's just like mapping out, where I can work on, what are the times I have currently, how I can improve on those things, and pretty much just executing. It's kind of like it's fun because football is now my job right now. So
Yeah.
there's no schoolwork. I don't gotta worry about going to class. I don't gotta worry about none of that. I just focus on football.
Yeah.
So.
I bet you were real worried about class your senior year.
Yeah, sometimes I was. I would say because I wanted that degree bad. That's one
Oh,
thing
I
I
like that.
wanted.
What's your degree in?
It's
Are you about to say sports management? Are you about to say
no.
sports management?
It's in liberal studies. It's in liberal studies. But I was like, the fact that I'm an IU alum, I can go a variety of
Wait,
ways.
so I didn't hear you. What's the degree in?
Liberal studies.
Oh, all right, cool. That's something. That's something.
Yeah.
Look, you're
So,
talking to a telecom and a guy who literally I just made up my own major. Okay,
Yeah.
hey,
we weren't taking calculus classes.
No, just get the degree. Just get the degree.
that's
But
all that matters, man. That's all I wanted, that paper.
I love that.
Let's talk a little bit about what you might be working on upstairs for the draft, for the next level. I mean, a couple of things I think it comes up, but not that often. The patience of a running back and the vision of a running back. These feel like more intangible things, intellectual things. How can you get better at that? How can you practice that? Is there like a VR set that you can plunk on your face and look at what the defenses are throwing at you and where the openings might occur before they happen?
Well, you just gave me an idea. I might even try that after I'm done with this call. But no, for the most part, man, it's just watching a lot of film.
Mhm.
Um, I'm really been, fortunate enough to have a lot of guys already in the league. So they pretty much tell me what they're looking at. Some are on defense, some I play on the offense side of the ball. And so, just kind of picking their brain, seeing what they look at, and just expanding my knowledge on the game. Watching film is very, very important. And so, now just being able to watch running backs, what they see, how they read the hole, when do they react, when do they don't react. And so, learning that, I think the speed of the game obviously does change from college to NFL. But
Sure.
those are the type things that you get in the flow of. But for the most part, your rules are going to be your rules, and every coach teaches it maybe a little bit different than each other. But for the most part, just making sure my eyes are where they're supposed to be. And if I'm being taught differently, I can adjust. because I truly believe if you're coachable, you can play for any program
Be-
or any organization. So yeah.
what, because it seems to me like you're watching the all 22, I'm assuming, right? Like that's mostly when you're doing the film study, but you're not getting the perspective, the point of view of the running back. And and we're up here looking down where you're sitting there and here's these 6'6", 6'7", just like behemoths
Right,
that
right.
I mean, is it of any benefit to like go in and pull up certain plays on Madden or something where you can actually get that point of view? Because it seems to me like or maybe you've just done it enough where you've seen it on tape and then you see it on the field that when you're looking from this all 22 shot, you know exactly what that would actually look like from being on the field.
Definitely. I kind of watch film from the end zone view, so it's
Okay,
almost as if I'm running the ball.
got it.
And so I look at the cues. I look at, I even look at sometimes where the running back's head is tilted. To kind of see what is he looking at? Is he trying to read the rotation of the safeties? Is he trying to like look? Is he looking directly at his cue from the snap? Like those are kind of things I pick up on. And that just takes from repetition of watching the film. So for the most part, when I watch the games online, though, like it's hard because you're from a side angle view to
Mhm.
really tell. But I make sure I really watch the end zone view.
All
So
right, you probably don't know by looking at us. You probably think these are two athletes. So you assume that we're two finely tuned athletes, but we're not. But I will say this: I never played football in my life, but when I'm in a crowded place like an airport or a busy city street, I'm going to tell you, I think I'm really good at reading,
there you go.
right? You know what I'm talking
We can
about?
we can switch jobs, man. I'm trying to tell
No,
you.
I don't want to
Yes,
get hit.
please,
I don't want to
please.
get hit. I don't want to get hit. But my question to you is when I'm doing that, I always I make jokes to my kids. I'm like, look, I'm a running back. Watch this. Just follow me. Follow me. I'll be your lead blocker. When you're in a situation like that, when you're in
Right.
an airport or a crazy street with a lot of people, do you like look at it like where's my hole? I'm going to get through this, or do you just go along for the ride?
The funny part is I do that, and sometimes I look a little weird doing it. So I kind of ease up on it because people are looking at me like, "What are you doing?" But one time I took one of my friends. We were in New York City, and
Yes.
I traveled there, and it was a lot of people, and I'm bobbing and weaving, and people looking at me like, "What is he doing? Like, is he
Yeah.
trying to rob me? Is he trying to say hi? Trying to give me a hug? Like, And I just was like, "No, I'm just don't mind me. It's just a game. I mean, so."
Listen, I have been known to break out a spin. I will do a
Ooh, I
spin.
ain't never
I'll
did
do a
that one.
spin in an airport. I will spin and
Hey,
hit right to the hole.
whatever you got to do to get to that hole, that's all that matters, man.
That's
So
exactly it.
That's my philosophy in life.
that's it.
However you need to get to the hole.
That's whatever you need to get to the hole, man. That's it. You
Well,
got to do what you
and
got to do.
Eric, while you, Justice, are a superhuman athlete, Eric's superpower is he has no shame. So I've been in public with him. I've been in airports with him, and there's really nothing he can do or say that will shame him into stopping it. He'll
Right.
There you
just do
go.
it.
There you
Um,
go.
Yeah.
Now, well, I think maybe now is a good time to like do it. Should we jump all the way back in the
Yeah.
time
Let's
machine?
jump in the time machine.
Okay, we're gonna
We
go
can
all
we
the
can
way.
go back. We can go back.
We're gonna go back to when Justice was just a wee young lad growing up, deciding what he was gonna do with his life. Well, no, he wasn't even deciding what he was gonna do with his life yet. He was just looking to have a good time. When did Justice find football? How did that happen? When did you know that me and this game are gonna have a relationship that means something?
So my father, he played running back at Virginia Tech, and he taught me a lot about the game. He would always talk about it, what he experienced, but I never had that experience for myself because I was heavy in basketball at the time. And one day, he took me over. He said, "You want to play football, son?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like why not? I want to be like you, Dad." And so he took me to the field, and my cousin was like 2, 3 years older than me,
Wait,
and he
how
was on.
how old are you right now?
I'm 5 years old. He was
Okay.
like 7 or 8 years old. So at the time, I'm like, oh, I'm kind of thinking a little bit. I'm like, I don't know what this football thing about to be because I played flag football, but I never played tackle football. So I was a little nervous, and so my cousin, he took me over there with my cousin. My cousin, like, we did like an Oklahoma drill. And I don't know if y'all familiar with Oklahoma drill. That's like one person lined up here and the other person lined up here. It's pretty much a disaster. Like, you just, as soon as you get up, it's like
Train wreck.
CTE, concussion, whatever you call it. It's all in one bucket. And so that's pretty much what it was. He was tackling me over and over and over again. And my dad did that because he wanted to show me, like, son, like, this is what it's going to be like. You know, you're going to get hit a lot of times and over and over and over again, but it's about a man getting up and continue to keep going and doing whatever your team needs you to do because you want to be a part of something bigger than you. And so that's where it started. You know, I still remember that moment. It was in Springfield, Virginia. And so ever since then, I feel like the athletic ability, you know, developed over time. And, you know, I was blessed enough to, you know, play at Flint Hill as a freshman and all those great things end up occurring after. So that's where it started, man. And I didn't think I was going to play in college. I thought that I was going to play basketball.
Yeah, because you were an athlete. You were playing everything, right?
I was playing basketball. I was actually playing with Xavier Johnson. He
No kidding.
yeah, so we were on the same basketball team. And yeah, I thought basketball was gonna be the route. And so, you know, things turned and now I'm here.
All right, so the other person that you intersect with at a pretty early age that has Indiana ties is Mikhail Kamara as well.
There you go.
So
Yep.
when did you meet Mikhail? You didn't go to the same high school, but when did you meet him? Because it seems like you guys were kind of competitors most of your life, right?
Yes, we were. It's actually pretty funny. Me and Mikhail, we met at like this. Our dads were kind of pretty like around each other a lot. And it was one of those things where we just gravitate toward each other because obviously our dads were close. So it was like, oh, like you're my age. So, you know, we started getting around each other at this little park and we would just be like talking about game. And we both competitors, so I would never let up and say that he would be better than me at anything. So it was one of those things where, you know, we both would meet up, you know, we'll hang out, whatever, we'll play ball, we'll talk and chop it up, and I'll be like, you know, you'll never beat me in basketball, and he'll be like, you never beat me in football. So it's just this back and forth competitive thing, and you know, as we got older, you know, Macau had a lot of success. And it was like a surreal moment to be at Wake Forest and to see his success and be able to say, man, like me and him were close when we was little, man. And it's just a dream come true. And so when I hit the portal, I DM'd him. I said, dude, I don't care what offers you got, but you need to come to IU because I'm going.
Wow.
I'm coming. I'm coming to IU. I'm going to be the first one to commit. But I need you to come because this is the place to be.
All right, let's pause on that. We want to get there, but I want to ask some more questions because I saw a picture. I think the Big Ten Network did a piece on you and Mikhail, and I saw a picture of you as a basketball player. You probably were like 8 years old. You
Yeah,
were
around there.
sitting directly next to Michael Jordan.
I try to touch greatness, man, at an early age.
What
I
was that? What was that?
It was phenomenal. My mom took me to his camp in California, and it was wonderful. I think it was in San Diego, and I had a great time. I got to shoot around with him, talk to him, and kind of like just be around him all the time. And it was cool. It was about for 4 to 5 days. It was an overnight camp, so it wasn't like a day camp. It was an overnight camp, so I got to experience how's Michael Jordan? What is he like? What does he laugh about? Like kind of learn those things, and so. I enjoyed myself. I had to have been like 8 years old. I was real young, but I ain't never forget that moment.
Is that something where would you go back and watch his games like on YouTube? Did you get to watch and not just the highlights, but like really what that would do, how he would dominate an entire game?
So I would go and watch the highlights, but then I would also ask people who were there watching them play at that time, and I would be like, how really good was Michael Jordan? I see him in the YouTube, I see him all that, but how was he? And they would just be like raving about him, and I just was like, now that's pretty cool. I guess he's like y'all's LeBron James, I would say. So
No, LeBron James is y'all's Michael Jordan.
Oh, there we
Okay.
go. We'll do it like that then.
Okay.
We'll do it like that.
The thing that Michael is known for beyond just being like the most skilled guy that's ever played is his work ethic and his will to win, like his competitiveness, his intensity. Could you get any glimpse of that at 8 years old with him at a camp? Because there's great stories of him at like his camps where a kid will challenge him to like a shooting contest and he would never let anybody win. Did you get any sense of that from him?
So I kind of made a joke with him one time. We were walking toward lunch, and I definitely get this moment. I was like, I hinted at him. I was like, dude, you know I beat you in 1-on-1, right? And he was like, I'm thinking he gonna be like, yeah, you sure would. Da da da. He was like, no, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't beat me. You wouldn't beat me at all. And so, for me, it was like I kind of learned at an early age that like, dudes who played on that level, they take it seriously, no matter who they play. And they're
Right.
competitors no matter what. They can be a competitive in the business side of the world or, playing pickleball. They just are very competitive people. So
Totally.
I learned about competition at a young age.
So when you're growing up, did you love basketball more than football? Did you love the sport more, or were they equal?
I love basketball way more.
And
I
were there athletes that you looked up to, basketball players that like you modeled yourself after or wanted to be like?
Yeah, so Allen Iverson, he's from where my dad's from.
Oh yeah.
I grew up looking at Kyrie Irving, Michael Jordan, of course. I know he wasn't playing around my time, but I would watch a lot of his stuff. And so, a lot of those guys I just wanted to be similarly to. I wanted to, be able to have a highlight tape, and everybody was obsessed with Austin Rivers. He had this really cool highlight tape long time ago, and I would watch that over and over and over again because I wanted to be there. I wanted to be one of the top guys playing ball. So, you know, I had Lord, the man upstairs had different directions for my life, so I just went loop, loop, loop. But
What
hey,
what
man.
what was your game like? Describe your game to us, and maybe still is. I'm sure you still get in the gym and mix it up some.
Oh no, I've lived in too many ways now. I leave it
Okay,
alone. But
okay.
nah, but my game was pretty much a crafty player. Somebody that's going to really attack the rim. Somebody that's going to be able to get the ball to the big man, draw defenders. And I really took pride in handling the ball the right way, making sure that I never wanted nobody to steal the ball from me. Because if you steal the ball from me, I'm like, dude, that's goes against. That's like as a running back getting tackled 1-on-1 with a defender in the middle of the field when no one else is there. It's like, dude, you got to make a miss. So, um, yeah, I took pride in that, and that was my game. I wasn't scoring 25 a game. I ain't that those people who be lying saying they scoring 30 a game.
You were a
I ain't
facilitator.
me.
You were a
I was a
facilitator.
facilitator. I was, but when it was time to go score, I would go score. So.
Yeah.
So when did the moment come where basketball was had to get left behind and football became the thing? Was there a moment? Do you remember a conversation with your dad or anybody where that happened for you?
Yes, my sophomore year of high school, I got my first offer from Howard University. And I was, talking to these schools and I went to their camp and Syracuse was there as well. And I was a receiver at the time. I went to the camp always as a receiver. I never went as a running back. And they were telling me, they're like, dude, you got an opportunity to be an all ACC player. And I'm looking at them like, well, why aren't you offering me? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, why aren't you
Right.
offering? But that was like a real switch where college coaches really saw a lot in me. And so it was kind of like gravitating toward football might be the thing. Basketball is very political. I thought football was political, but basketball's on a whole nother level because there's less people. And so, me talking to my dad and my body started to change as well. I start looking more like a running back. I start looking more like a football player than I did basketball player. So it was kind of written all over the wall that it was the way to go. And I took football full seriously. I still play basketball with my high school team, not my club team, but high school team. And I just went all in on football. So, and
And
that got me a good offers.
and who were the football players that you were looking at? Were there guys in the NFL that really were had games that you really admired?
Or still
Definitely.
do, still do.
I I was fortunate to live in Ashburn, Virginia, of course. So I was training with Jamison Crowder every day.
Oh
Mm.
wow.
Every single day I would train with him. Like I was around him all the time, get to pick his brain. It's crazy he's still in the league. And I was talking to him while he was in the league when I was in seventh grade. So that just tells you how long he's been in the league.
Wow.
So that's one of the guys, and really my dad, watching my dad and how hard he worked. And he had a lot of injuries and things like that, but he was a great running back. And so looking up to him and a lot of guys, Marshall Falk, Barry Sanders, like, I mean, I can go down the list of running backs and players that there was a time where receivers, it was Odell Beckham, but as I translated to running back, it was definitely guys like Barry and all those great guys.
So being with Crowder like that, as much as you were, what a unique opportunity. What's a couple of things that you picked up from him that are still with you on a daily basis about what it takes to not only get to the next level, but stay there?
Well, mainly he would always teach me that taking care of your body is so important. This man took care of his body. He would have massages all the time, and I used to be like, "Dang, how many massages you have?" Like, but I was young. I was, I didn't know. Like, I had no idea. But he was like, "Dude, like, I invest so much money into my body." And that's the earlier things he taught me. But then also he taught me that you really don't have to have many people believe in you. You just need that one. And if you have one team, one person believing in you, you can go really, really far. And as long as you believe in yourself, you really can go far. So, he taught me that at a young age, being around him, seeing how hard he worked, coming back home, talking to him about, what's it like going against, Detroit Lions or going against the Eagles. And he's just like, hey man, it's just been playing the game since I was a little boy, and great guy. The dude loves football. He surrounds himself with football, and he's taught me a lot. So hopefully, I get to be on the stage with him. That would be wow. That picture will be insane. So
That would be
yeah,
incredible. All right, so you start to get noticed, you get some offers. What leads you to deciding Wake Forest?
mainly I did want to go play Power Five football. I didn't have many Power Five offers. It was decisions were really between Wake Forest and Boston College at the time. And I really liked Wake Forest because Boston College started showing a lot of interest after Wake Forest came.
Ah,
So for the most part, I was like, man, I wanted to go to Wake Forest for a while. They had some good running backs already, Christian Bill and Kenneth Walker, that's plays with Seahawks now. And so I wanted to go there and learn something. I knew that they had the slow mesh was going to be a little bit different, but for the most part, they were going to teach me the fundamentals of football to play on a high level, so that I wanted to transfer. Well, as soon as I got there, I wanted to have 4 years, and I always said I wanted to transfer my last year. And so that's what I did.
and
So that,
go
I
ahead,
mean,
Warren.
and so this is sort of the equivalent of, say, somebody starting at, like, a smaller college, a community college, but then wanting to get that fancier degree and finishing somewhere. In your mind, it was like, let me get myself ready on a smaller stage, prove myself, and then and this is remarkable to me that this was your plan from the jump, and
Yeah.
then get to the big stage for that
Yeah.
last year so everybody can see me do my thing.
Definitely. It was, I had to go through, I couldn't, I don't think I would have been ready to go to IU in the beginning. I think that going to where I went to helped me get to where I was, because there was a lot of things that I needed to develop. There was a lot of structure and building I needed. I don't take away anything that I ever grown from Wake Forest. A lot of people sometimes try to be bitter, but for the most part, I'm thankful for everything I've learned there because it allowed me to be able to step into the position as a leader at IU. One of the
Mhm.
problems I had, a lot of people don't know, it was hard for me to really lead. I was shy. I was the one that wanted to be quiet. I didn't want to be the guy that was, breaking people down and telling them to pass the line and telling them you got to do this and do that. Like, I wasn't trying to do that. I was just trying to mind my business. And so going through that process and learning from these coaches and actually foretelling this amazing season we're about to have, a lot of the coaches from Wake Forest are telling me, Justice, you got to be okay with, standing out and being a sore thumb and being that guy that's going to be like, hey, dude, if we want change, we got to do this right. We got to do this the right way. So when I came here, I had it all. I had the blueprint because I knew what it took. And so I was like, man, if you want to go from 3-9 to flipping to the completely different season, you got to put the work in and you got to believe in each other. So
So I read an interview and I think I saw a piece on you where you actually circled Indiana as a
yep,
place because of the lack of success, right?
yep.
So can you talk a little bit about what was it? I mean, that is an unusual pick,
Yep.
coming from You've been successful. You probably could have gone other places that maybe had more winning traditions. But what
Yeah.
was it about this opportunity in Indiana? And then we'll get into Signetti in a minute. But what was
Okay.
it about just Indiana that appealed to you?
Well, mostly, I mean, I saw, it was everything was written all over the wall. Like I feel like you guys, like the program itself, they have the fan base. Like I was like, I don't know much about this school. I've never even heard of Bloomington like that. But I was like, this place, I'm looking online, I'm like, this place has the fan base, so that's not the issue. I'm like, okay, like the basketball team is booming. They support the basketball team really well. I was like, the only thing they're missing is a new culture in that locker room. And so, I was like, dude, why not Indiana? Why not? You know what I'm saying? Everybody else saying, don't go there. I'm saying, why not? So that was my thing. I circled it, and I really believed that this was going to be the season before it even happened. I would go to the head, I would go all the way to the top, and I would do this probably did this 5 to 6 times before the season started. This had to been in the spring, a couple times in the summer, and then going into the season. I would sit at the top and I would imagine all the things that happened. I would imagine, I would imagine winning. I would imagine what the popcorn smelled like. I would imagine fans screaming our name and saying, "What a wonderful season y'all are having. Thank you for changing this program." All these things I would imagine already. And so when it was happening, I was like, I've already been here. You know what I'm saying? I've
Now,
already been here.
you
So
you did make a call though to the guy that you mentioned
Wait,
before.
hold on.
Oh.
We're just talking about manifesting here, right? Like, is this something that just came to you to go up and do that? Or is this something like you learned? Is this a practice that you've put into your life to get up there and to be so specific with that imagery and people saying those comments to you? Like, where did that come from?
honestly, man, I personally like from me, I am a firm believer. I'm a huge faith guy, man. I Everything who I am is embedded in that. And I truly believe in when you truly set your feet down and believe in something you can't see, you, that's gonna come out in fruition. You know what I'm saying? Because it's easy to look at something and say, "Hey, I know that's gonna happen." You see it, but I couldn't see it because a lot of teams, a lot of people were like, "Dude, they haven't been good in ever, in a long time." And so I was like, "Well, why not?" And taking myself in a place, I knew that I wanted to put all my eggs in one basket with Indiana. I didn't want to leave nothing behind. I knew that they needed all of justice to be able to set the tone for the team. And so what I did was I put in that extra time. I would leave my room and I would go to the stadium and I would imagine all these things happening. And I would picture myself, I would picture myself making moves and I would picture myself going 10 and 0. You know what I'm saying? Like doing that. And so when it came out the true, I was like, man, like it's amazing when you have some faith in something that you can't see, and that's really where it came from. So
So before you get to Bloomington, though, you do
yeah,
call your old buddy
I
Xavier,
did. I
right?
called him. I called him because I wanted to know, hey, I'm looking at Indiana. What's Indiana about? And this dude, like, dude, Juice, like, you come here, you really can change this program. You can help change this program, man. They have everything lined up. That's what he said. He said they have everything lined up for us to be something special. We just need the right culture in the building. And so I said, you know what? I don't know who Sid gonna bring. And I didn't know who he was gonna bring. I didn't know. I didn't know the portal. He didn't tell me. I didn't know. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take that faith, and I'm gonna set the tone. The first workout, so I got there. We didn't have to report till like December 10th. I got there like, I mean, not December 10th, January 10th. I got there like December 27th and started working out in the indoor by myself. And so that's what.
This is awesome because I want to focus on this for a second, Juice, because, and yeah, I'm going to call you by your nickname because we're friends
You
now.
good? You good? Yeah,
Um,
we are friends.
um, I think a lot of fans in the NIL era think that it's like you go to Costco and you see a bunch of players on a shelf and this is the price to get them. And then
Right.
if you pick one, some other team goes, well, I want them and I'll pay this much. And then it's just the highest offer wins. Now, there are we have a collective, there are some players and some agents and some handlers where that ends up being a bit of the play. but clearly it wasn't for you. Like, you knew you were going to get some NIL. They had to tell you what the money was, and that's important because, as you said, like, look, man, you're paying for yourself to train right now, so you're investing in yourself. You need the money, but how did you have the maturity to make it not about the money? And like, you probably could have said, okay, Indiana's going to offer me this, and then use that as a negotiating tool with other schools to get more. How did you have the maturity to just know this was the right place for me? I want to be here. The money's fine. I don't need to squeeze every penny that I can get out of it.
Gratitude, knowing that I'm thankful for everything I do have. When you're truly thankful for it, it's your mind is not greedy. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't greedy. Like, I was just thankful for everything. You know what I'm saying? And I was blessed. Signetti ended up hooking me up with some good money, and I was telling my mom and daddy I could be the type to be greedy and be like, oh, I'm gonna use this and I'm gonna try to. And I'm like, nah. I don't. My parents didn't raise me that way. You know what I'm saying? They never raised me to
There
be
it
the
is.
guy that's greedy and trying to latch on to people and take advantage of people. So when I hit the portal, I think I didn't even like do the photos, like the visit photos. I didn't do that because I told the coaches that, hey, I'm here truly because I want to be here. And it's not all about the fanciness of things to me. It's about going somewhere and I want to be able to help the team win. I knew the money was gonna come. I knew that. I was like, you play well, you have fun, money's gonna come. But I want the money to be even more for the next year of Indiana players, and so that was my
Wow.
mindset. And so I was like, to do that, you gotta put the work in and you gotta be able to really, really, really sacrifice and say, it's not about justice. It ain't about justice at all. It ain't about Macau, ain't about Curtis, Roy. It's not about these guys. It's about the team and it's about the community that was desperate for wins. So
Wow.
that's what it was about, man. So
I mean, and that is, and we can reflect more when we get to the end of the season. But the community you guys built, that filled, literally, you could see it building from week
yeah,
to week, with a
yeah.
little urging from coach. But ultimately, it was the performance on the field that filled that place up, and something we've all been hungering for, really, our entire lives. But as Coach Curt Cignetti did call us out to come out and fill up the stadium and stay in the stadium, um, that resonated, right? People from the first day he got on campus and went to the basketball game and told us that Purdue sucks and Ohio State sucks and Michigan sucks. We all took notice. We all started listening to what Coach said. And despite our history, our sad, sad history of football, there's something about this guy.
Yep.
We just believed him. I mean, obviously, you look at his track record, and that's very reassuring. But ultimately, we're IU. It doesn't matter who comes in here. Why did we think this guy was going to make it work? So for you, could you take us through, what was your initial conversation with Coach Sig, and how did you come to that decision that you wanted to play for this man? And then how did you go about telling him or the staff that was your decision?
So he brought me to his office, and mind you, this is the same coach that offered me in high school. So
Oh,
I
Okay,
already built.
so start there. Start there.
Yep. So he offered me at JMU, and he offered me as a receiver. So Coach Shanahan offered me. So I was offered by as a receiver. He came to my school. Coach Shanahan came to my school and told me they really wanted me, and they were looking at me and a few other guys, and they wanted to give me an offer. And I went up there as a visit, and I loved it. I loved JMU. I thought it was great. But the one thing I wanted to go Power Five
yeah.
football. That was the main thing, and that was the only difference. That really had me kind of pull back a little bit, and they hesitated, and I hesitated as well. So it was kind of like we both were hesitating.
Did your phone die?
No, it just blanked out on me.
Oh, that's happened to me a couple times. All right, so we were right in the middle of um, high school. You were hesitating, he was hesitating, and so it just didn't work out, and you went to Wake Forest. When
Yes.
does it come back around in your senior year? When does Curt Cignetti or Shanahan come back into your life when you enter the portal?
So I went to the portal. I was talking to, Coach John Miller. And I didn't have a relationship with him before. So I didn't really know who he was. Because I'm pretty sure he's so young. I think he might have been still playing at JMU. So,
Right.
he's we would kind of have a dialogue back and forth, and he was like, hey, like at the time I ended up getting offers from Minnesota and other teams, USC and all these other schools were really highly recruiting me, and so Indiana, I came on a visit. I came on one visit, and I went there. They showed a lot of love, mind you. When I came on my visit, none of all the coaches were in hotels still. None of them were even in the home yet because they were new, just like I was. And so when I sat there in the office with Coach Signetti, he crossed his legs and he said, "This is what we're going to do." And he was like, "I need you on board. Like, I need you in this room to be able to help me get to where we're going to get. And we're going to basically turn this whole culture, this whole like this show around." And so when I sat there and I looked at him in his eyes, I didn't look at my mom. My mom and dad was sitting next to me. I looked right in his eyes. I was like, I believe you. Like, I believe you because you were so confident that you weren't like you weren't worrying, you weren't doubting, you weren't like playing it like, oh well, because we're not like we're playing some whack teams. We're playing some good teams. And so he like, no, dude, I seen the schedule. And he went through the whole schedule with me. And he said, we have a great opportunity to do something special here. This year. He said, not in a couple years, not a rebuilding, but for your last year. And I said, that's all I need to know. I said, dude, I'm coming.
Wow.
I'm coming.
Right on the
I'm
spot.
coming.
All right. Before we get into the season,
Wait, what was his reaction?
So Signetti jumped up. That's actually a funny story. I have never seen him. We've put some numbers up. I've had some 100-yard games. This dude has never did that. This dude jumped up and was like, yes, I got him. Finally. Yes. Finally. Let's go, bro. Let's go. Like he was running around the room. And I'm like, dude, I have never. And what that made me feel like I will run through a brick wall for this coach.
oh man,
I will run
love
through a
that.
brick wall for this coach. I will really put my face. I will. I've gone through some injuries during the season, but I put some duct tape on my body to make sure that I'm playing because I know who's the leader. I knew that he was somebody that believed in me from the get go, and so that's all I need to know. I was like, dude, if I had to recommend any player for somebody to go play for, it'd be Coach Signetti.
Yes.
I love that. All right. Before we get into the season, want to learn a little bit more about you. When you're not playing football, when you're not playing basketball, when you're not doing anything, when you're not watching film and working out, what do you do for fun?
I'm a big movie guy, man. I enjoy movies. I enjoy going to the movies by myself. I go a lot by myself. I really enjoy that time where I can get the popcorn, experience, eating the candy and be able to like have my Slurpee and be able to watch the movie and enjoy it, laugh, and people look at me like, is he gonna bring anybody? But I'm like, hey, I'm by myself.
All right. Give
enjoy
us
it.
3 favorite movies of all time.
Now that's tough. I can go with if we working on action. Believe it or not, The Beekeeper was one of my favorite movies.
Wow.
Okay.
The
Statham.
Beekeeper
Jason
was
Statham. Yeah.
he got a couple ones. I'm like, whoo, I love his acting. So that's one of them. You always got to go with a traditional loving basketball. I love loving basketball. That's a good one for me because
Sure.
I've always been a basketball head. And if I had to go to another one, this is tough. Another movie, I would say a classic for me. You can't go wrong. Just can't go wrong with the Avengers, man. You just can't go wrong. I mean, people get mad because they're like, dude, it's 2 hours, 3 hours. I'm like, dude, that's my type of movie. That's
Great
perfect
film.
time.
Great
give
movie.
Give us
What's
a
up-
guilty
what's up-
pleasure. Give us a guilty pleasure, though, before we leave movies. Is there a movie that you like that you don't really want to admit because the guys in the locker room would make fun of you?
Oh, The Notebook. I don't tell nobody, but I'm gonna watch The Notebook. Hey, I'm in there crying and some more. I like The Notebook. Hey, I don't got no shame in my game. I tell them. I say,
Good
I'm
man.
love it for it.
What have you seen? It's awards season, and we're out here in LA, and everybody's getting screeners or going
Yeah.
out to the movies to see the awards movies. Have you seen anything lately you like? Have you seen Nosferatu, for example.
I never took that one out.
It's the
What's
new.
that
It's like
about?
it's basically a new Dracula movie.
I have never seen it. I have never seen. I gotta check it out.
Check
You just
yourself
gave me a
out.
suggestion.
Yes, Nosferatu. You'll be glad you did.
Okay, okay, I'm
Uh,
gonna write that down.
TV guy? Do you watch TV shows?
See, that's the only thing. I don't see. Usually, my time is a short window.
Okay.
So I usually the TVs is I'll start binge watching it, and then I'm like, I'm looking 7 days later, and I'm not investing no time in film, all the
Right.
stuff. Oh man, so I usually stay away from TV shows.
All right.
How about music? Who do you listen to? Who's in the heavy rotation these days?
I'm a big. I love the Marvin Saps, the Travis Green. I like my music smooth, man. I'm not a big rah-rah guy. Like, I mean, every now and then the guys will play like, well, I don't know, NBA Youngboy on the TV but sometimes I can't admit I like reggae.
Mm,
I listen to some reggae every now and then.
Sure.
And so I just, I'm not a big music person, but if I do, I would say one of the Christian artists or some reggae and some R&B. I can go with some R&B. Um, and so yeah, man, I'm pretty smooth with the music though.
Are you a video gamer?
I really wish I could say I am, but I'm terrible at video games. I
yeah.
have a PS5. I got the college football playoffs college football game. I got all the games, but I'm terrible at video games.
You can tell Eric's not a gamer because he asks you if you are a video gamer.
Hey, hey, I've
Right.
heard I've heard you people ask me like that, so that's all right.
Yeah, I have no idea. When it became more than the A and B button on Nintendo, it lost me. That was it.
I feel that, man.
Too many
I
buttons.
try to get it. I only play when I'm with my teammates. So when I'm with my teammates, I enjoy my time with my teammates. So when I'm with them, I play the game because I like being around them. I like talking to them. So that's when I enjoy it the most. But when I'm by myself, nah, movies, hands down, movies.
Good
All
man.
right.
Good man.
Let's get into the season. So the season starts. First game, Florida International, 10 carries, 68 yards, 6.8 yards a carry, not bad. We beat them pretty handily. But there was some, but you have to remember, you're dealing with a beaten child. That's what we are as Indiana fans. So we didn't want to buy into fool's gold at the beginning. And we
Yeah.
didn't score all that many points in that first game. So we're like, maybe the offense isn't going to be that good. And then you play Western Illinois and you score 100 and you go for nine carries for 117 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, this kind of fits a pattern for a while. 9 carries, 10 carries, 12 carries, 10 carries. At any point, did you care at all how many carries per game you were going to get?
I am a firm believer in whatever I gotta do to help the team win. I was like a gunzo about everything, man. I just wanted to get the ball and be able to help the team in any possible way I can. I knew that I wanted to be healthy the whole season. And so playing 35 carries, 30 people want that, but to experience, I played 30, I had 30 carries in Washington, and that next week I was hurting.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I was going through it, and imagine playing week after week after week. Especially the level we were playing. And Signetti, he's not like other coaches. He make you practice every day. So it wasn't like I was able to sit down, not practice all week. No, I was practicing on Monday. I was practicing when we had to practice, and so it was great for me. It kept me healthy all year.
Well, and how much, and I'm sure your father or other players, older players you've been around, could kind of talk you through this a bit of how the mentality's changed, where it is so much at every level and certainly at the NFL about committees now. Like when we were growing up and it was the Barry Sanders or the Walter Payton or the Marshall Faulk, it was like that was it. Everybody was looking for their bell cow and
Yeah.
and that's all it was. So along with it potentially prolonging your career, because look, let's not forget, even a lot of times when you're not toting the rock, you're blocking, right?
Yeah.
So it's not just about carries, it's also about snaps. And if you're picking up the blitz or whatever you're doing, is it just the way it is for big time running backs now? Is you're gonna share the backfield?
It's pretty much given. You know that, you might have some games, guys might go down, guys might be banged up. For the most part, the game is changing. The game is developing. You got DNs now running 4 threes. And so the game is at a high level. Being able to run the ball 30, 40 times a game is kind of unrealistic now. You might have one or two that might get that, but for the most part, I mean, the game is also faster, and how you win games is, I mean, ultimately you can try to run the ball a lot, but for the most part, to be explosive team, everyone knows you got to throw the football. And so in that passing game, you got to have your running backs be able to get out the backfield and run routes. And so doing that, running backs get tired, you know what I'm saying? You run the ball, catching the ball, blocking, that's a lot to do. So having a committee is important in today's game. And so I believe that, I mean, if you're mad that you're not getting 30, 40 carries, I think you need to look deeper and check you know, the game now. It's not the way it used to be. So
So the first big game of the year comes in your third game, where you take the flight out to the Rose Bowl and you get
right.
to play in the Rose Bowl. Ward and I were there. We were very excited because we live in LA. So seeing Indiana play in the Rose Bowl, first time they've played in the Rose Bowl since 1968. It
Wow.
felt like a big moment for Indiana. We're 2 and
Definitely.
0, and now we're playing our first Power 5 team, first Big 10 team. What was that experience like? Just the flight out to LA, being in LA, all the stuff that came with that week. What was it like for you?
I mean, honestly, I liked Coach Signetti's strategy. He didn't believe in changing things up. We practiced the same. He had us fly out late as possible.
Mm-hmm.
We got out there probably like we left at like 5, and we got there like maybe 8:30, 9 o'clock, and we went straight to bed and and got up and played. Literally exactly how he said it. And so, that whole week it was just about like, hey, like I know we won those first 2 games, and a lot of people are like, okay, what are they gonna do versus a Power 5 team? But we're like, dude, we believe in each other. We have the people in this building to get it done, and we don't need to do anything differently. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what it was. We went there, and I mean, the first couple of drives was a little shaky. And then we started getting the rhythm of things, and we started playing faster and started playing more physical. We knew we were a more physical team than them. We knew we had to be more physical than them because on the Power 5 level, it's about physicality.
Mm-hmm.
It's about how physical can you be at a high level, consistently playing fast, physical, and relentless at all times. And so that's what it was for us. And we did that on a consistent basis. And that's the reason why, we end up stretching the league and end up enjoying that win. So,
How do you practice that? Because Coach Sig talks about that. The speed I get, but the physicality, it seems like during the week in practice, it's got to be as much mental as it is physical because you can't destroy yourselves or each other in practice, right? How do you find that balance so when it's game day, you actually can be that without having beaten yourself up already?
well, I'm actually the worst person to ask, mainly because I am somebody that will be physical as the game. I'm a firm believer you practice the way you play.
Mm.
And I don't have a switch. I don't go like light or ease up. If we got walkthrough, Justice is usually sprinting. Because I've just always have had one because I've always believed in like if I'm gonna go 100 miles an hour all the time, it's not gonna change whether I'm in the college football playoffs or we're playing FIU. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, obviously the outcome's not gonna always be the same because they're on scholarship just like I am. I ain't Superman, but for the most part, you're gonna get the same guy every day, and not everybody was able to do that because of the O line and the D line. You got to keep each other healthy and all that stuff. But for the most part, man, that's what I try to do every single day, every single week. And for the team aspect, we did a lot of good on good that allowed us to be physical, to kind of get that look, but not too much. And so we did that on a consistent basis, and that helped us prepare ourselves for the game ultimately.
What is Coach Sig like during practices? Does he talk a lot? Do you have much interaction with him during a practice?
Yeah, so I mean, he just stands. You have his hat on. He'll stand in the middle of the field watching offense and defense, and he'll pretty much like have his whistle there. He's an offensive minded coach, and he'll have his whistle there, blowing the whistle when you're not running the right route, when you didn't get your right depth, when the play call wasn't at the right timing. Like, he's very hands-on coach, and so he'll come to you and tell you what he's looking for, and also. A lot of people don't know about Coach Sig. Coach Sig watches a lot of film. He watched more film than anyone in that whole building, more film than anyone. And so he knows what is going to happen before it happens. And so a lot of times he comes to us and he's like, dude, like, we're expecting them to do this, and this is how we're going to combat that. And so he comes to us and he tells us in the middle of the practice. And so he's a very hands-on, he's almost like an offensive coordinator while being the head coach. And so, he'll tell us, hey, Justice, I need you to get this depth because the linebacker usually peels, and I've watched him against Iowa. He usually peeled underneath, and that's going to be our touchdown right there. And we're going to need you to make that play. And he'll have you run it maybe 3-4 times in a row. So that's how he is.
Will you take notes like after a practice or in film sessions and kind of review them? Is that something you need to read down to remember, or can you retain it pretty well?
I pretty much retain it. Great thing about the running back position, we don't have a lot to do mentally. The quarterbacks is a little bit different because they have a lot of things they are looking at. But running back, we're not looking at too much. And so I pretty much take mental notes and I take them when I'm watching film alone. So I listen to any correction that he has or my running back coach has for sure.
All right, so then you beat UCLA, you beat Charlotte, 9 carries, 58 yards, a touchdown. Maryland, back to Big Ten play, 12 carries, 51 yards, touchdown. And now there's a buzz starting to build. You go to Northwestern.
Yeah.
14 carries, 68 yards, a touchdown.
Now talk about Northwest. Like that, did that feel crazy to be playing in that stadium the way it looked on TV right next to Lake Michigan?
I thought yes, it did, but it also felt like I was in high school again.
Right.
Because the way it was cool being able to be around the water and everything, but it kind of felt structured like I was in a high school championship state final. But it was like one of those games. But it was still a cool experience though, man. I mean, our fans showed out. Our fans covered up, I think, majority of their fans, which was pretty cool to see. So that was a great experience.
That sets up really the turning point in the season, I think, for the fan base too, which is Nebraska. You play Nebraska at home. It's sold out. It's the first time it's been sold out in many years at IU. And you go off. Only 9 carries, but 105 yards, 2 touchdowns. But I want to talk specifically your first touchdown. And I realize this is probably something you do on every touchdown, but the cameras don't always show it. And I saw it clearly on this one. You score the touchdown and you immediately go up to each lineman and you grab them by like their helmet and like embrace them. And you make a point of you're not celebrating the touchdown, you're celebrating your linemen.
Yeah.
Is that something that like your dad taught you? Is that something you picked up from watching the greats? What is it about that moment that's so important for you to talk to your linemen in that moment?
My father always told me, you act like you've been there before. And so congratulating the guys that, helped you get in that touchdown. It's not Justice versus 11 guys. It's our guys versus their guys. And so the offensive lineman blocked those plays up perfectly. Mainly before the game and at the coin toss, their defensive lineman has made a few comments to our offensive lineman, letting him know, hey, like, we haven't given up a rushing touchdown all year. At the time, they were like top 5 in rushing defense.
Yeah.
And so, we were kind of like, okay, bet. We're going to show you that we are who we say we are. And so that was like a moment where I was embracing them and we were embracing each other like, hey, dude, like, we can do this together. It don't matter what anybody else say. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people, like, that whole week it was buzzing. Oh, are they even going to be able to score? Like, they've never had let a rushing touchdown and all this stuff. And so I went to go grab their helmets because I let them know, dude, like, I believe in y'all and I love y'all. And so it was a cool moment, man. I watched that video so many times during this year because not because I'm me scoring or anything, but because, man, like, that moment right there and seeing the fans in the background, I was like, man, that was definitely a dream come true, honestly.
Well, and you mentioned it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks or believes in you, or you go back to Jameson's advice, or you just have to believe in yourself and like one other person. And you weren't the most recruited guy out of high school. And this mentality, the chip on the shoulder, the proving everybody wrong, how much was that a part of the identity of this team? Because I think we as Hoosier Nation embrace that against the Nebraska, his historic program that seems to be on the way back. Of course we're going to be the dogs to them and anybody else who has any kind of history or talent. Was that an important fuel for the entire locker room this year?
It definitely was. I mean, guys were on board, and I made it an importance to make sure that I'm doing everything in my power to making sure that the team itself has the culture, like everybody's investing in the same thing. And the guys that are on the bus, you're gonna be on the bus. If you don't want to be on the bus, you gotta go. Because we need everybody in here that's gonna believe in this thing and support the people that are playing. And so that's what it was, man. I mean, honestly, that was the chip. We had chip all year, and sometimes we came short. But I mean, we did everything in our power to make sure that we were dotting every I and crossing every T. And so we didn't leave no shortcuts at all. I mean, from the time we were working out in the spring and the time we were working out in the summer. I mean, there's been a couple times I told dudes, we're gonna start the drill over because that's how important the details were. That's how important we wanted to win. We were out there for extended time, longer than we were supposed to be training because we wanted to win that bad. We knew the details were that important. So that's where it came from.
Before we leave the Nebraska game, 9 carries, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns. Let's talk about you get in the huddle and they call the play halfback pass. They're going to give it to you. They're going to give it to you, and you're going to be able to wing it and throw for a touchdown. Walk us through that triumphant play.
I told coach, I told the running back coach, I said, because we did it in walkthrough. And I'm like looking at him and Coach Sig, I'm like, do they expect me to really throw that? Because like I ain't no quarterback now. Like I was like, I used to play quarterback, but my day's over with. I ain't never had nobody running full speed at me on this level. As a quarterback. So I'm like, dude, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And I'm telling them, not like I ain't telling them. And Coach Sting looked at me, he looked at the huddle, he said, run it. I'm like, okay. So I get the ball, and I was like, Lord, please get this ball to the end zone. And I spanked it. And I could feel the whole 55, 60,000 staring at the back of my helmet. It was the most quietest stadium I've ever seen. But it was a cool moment because I came to the sideline and Coach Signetti said, just what was that? And he gave me a hug. That's what it was. He gave me a hug. I told him though. I said, don't put me in there to throw the ball. So
All right. Well, look though, these 2 games, the Nebraska and then the Washington game, really are. I hate to say it's a coming out party for you because you were so consistent from the jump at Indiana, but the Nebraska game, you go for over 100 yards, you score 2 touchdowns, but then Curtis Work gets injured. And so things are going to have to change for the Washington game. And I get it. Washington is a different team than they were, but they played in the national championship game the year before. And you're playing them. Did you know going into that week that this was going to be a game where you were going to have to carry a heavy load?
definitely, I knew that I needed to surround Taven. I knew that Taven needed that support from me. I believed him all week. I would pat on his butt and let him know that, hey man, we're in there with you. Because for the most part, one man goes down, but our team is not consisted of one man, and so we needed guys to step up. And I knew that if that opportunity came for me to have to really, really, really put on a show, like not the show for myself, but put on a show, like step up to the plate and be the guy that be able to make adjustments and be able to really help this team win, then I would have done so. And so, I kind of went in the game thinking like that, but I do know from my experience that every game is its own game. And what you think is going to happen in the game might not turn out that way. So I just played it as it was going to be. And I looked in the first half and I saw that we got stopped on a couple fourth down plays. And so going into that halftime, I grabbed Laudie's helmet and I grabbed everybody else and I said, We're gonna do this. And I put it on myself. I said, you know what, Justice, you need to step up. I don't tell people this a lot, but I was talking to myself now. I was sitting in that mirror and I was like, I need to step up because the team needs me to step up. They need me to be able to get these hard runs. And I might not be breakout runs because they were pretty good on
Yeah,
run defense. They were
very
good
good.
run defense. And so I was like, if I can just run a little harder each run, a little harder each run, eventually they're gonna crack. And so that's what it was, man. We came out there the next half and I ended up getting 29 carries, and I was like, man, they keep handing me the ball. But I was like, hey, I mean, it's working. So we pulled the W out, and I just love the gritty, the grind, the offensive line. They kept on fighting. They kept on going. They kept on blocking it up. And, we ended up coming out with a W. So that was
29
definitely,
carries, 123 yards, and a touchdown, and continue the undefeated start for
yeah.
Indiana University football.
But like this, I feel like this is a time to pause and for you to look around Bloomington, Indiana, right? This is your chosen home for the season, and you guys are now building the monster.
Yeah.
What is it like walking around town, around campus, going to grab a bite to eat, say the weeks after the Nebraska and the Washington game compared to when you first showed up in the fall or like, after the FIU game? Like, were more people coming up? Was it impossible to not see what was happening?
It was It was very, very, very glaring. Like it was like as soon as we left the building, it was like all the time, night and day. Like it was like wherever you go, they trying to give you free food. Or wherever you go, they were talking to you for so long about the season and everything. And as soon as we go back into the facility, it was like Coach Cincinnati never let us get complacent. Like he never hooped and hollered about it. Like he never ever told us like we were that good, like ever. And so even the coaches, like they will always say we got a lot of things to work on. And so leaving that facility, I was like, man, like there is some buzz going around. Like these fans, they loving it too, man. I'm happy you're enjoying it. But for me in the back of my mind, I was like, dude, we're not done yet. We got more to do. We got so much more to do. We got so much more to accomplish. Our mind was from the get-go, it was playoffs. And so, that's what we believed in.
Really, you thought that and articulated that from the beginning?
Playoffs, hands down. Playoffs. Playoffs. I said that in the spring. I was like, playoffs. Playoffs. I was like, don't limit yourself. I said, you never know. Do not limit yourself. If you got a plan, you map that plan out and you say that this is where we're gonna get to right here. And you do whatever it needs to do to get there. I put in the work because the work you can't cut shortcuts. But you gotta believe that you're gonna get to that show. So yeah.
So big noon kickoff comes to town on Fox. College game day, McAfee, the whole gang come to town. We know
Yeah.
SIG is keeping you guys accountable and focused on the thing at hand. Are you able to sense what that meant during those weeks, or did you have blinders on?
I had a lot of blinders on. What helped though, I would say the realizing that no one believed in Indiana. That helped a lot because it made us understand the whole picture of the fact that like we were 3-9 last year or four, what I'm saying, 4-8, or it was not where we needed to be. And so it was like, dude, like we got to continue to keep this train rolling. And so Nick Saban came to our walkthrough, and it was from that moment, it was Nick Saban and Coach Signetti looking at our offense, looking at our defense, and it was like these are two great coaches, standing in front of the team, and this is what we always wanted. And now it's here. Now we gotta go play. Now we gotta go enjoy it. So that's what it was, man. And to do that on college game day was just surreal, man. It was
Awesome.
I
it was
mean,
definitely
like,
surreal.
I don't think anybody at this point in time from any era would argue that anybody besides Nick Saban is the greatest college football coach in history. Was he giving Coach Sig some pointers before that game?
He might have. I don't know. But I mean, when he walked into that building though, his 5'7" aura just erupted the whole stadium. It was a walkthrough. So it was like only the football players on there. It wasn't like fans. And the dude like had a lot of aura, and dudes was like, all right now. And that's probably the fastest I ever ran in a walkthrough. I was on my P's and Q's. I'm like, Nick Saban. I was like, dude, that's what's up, man. I was like, man, that's somebody I looked up to since I was a little kid. So
All right, you go to Michigan State, you win that game, and now you're in deep water. You're Michigan at home, you're going to Ohio State, you got the old Oaken Bucket game coming, and then hopefully the playoff. Michigan was a grind. The offense wasn't clicking. Michigan's got a great defense, and obviously better than anybody thought as to what after what we saw them do to Ohio State and seeing what Ohio State did not just to us, but what they're doing to Oregon, what they did to Tennessee,
and what Michigan did to Alabama.
yeah.
Yeah. So, talk to us a little bit about you were at Wake Forest, you wanted to step up and play at the big leagues, and now you're playing Michigan, Ohio State, and then in the playoffs. Could you tell a difference in level of talent? Did it show you, okay, if I want to be at that next level, the NFL, it's even more than what I thought I was putting in? Did any of that occur to you when you were in those games?
So playing those games made me realize that there is a level of there was a difference between, you know, little things like how hard people are hitting. You know, there's a
Really?
difference between, there was a difference between, the physicality was a little bit different. I got to play Notre Dame last year at Wake Forest, so I experienced they were more of a physical team last year than they were this year.
Wow.
It was just this year they were very athletic. I think they
Yeah.
were a very athletic team, but for the
Fast.
most part, very fast. But last year they were very physical. They had two linebackers who were very physical. And they all got drafted, one to the Cowboys and one to the Falcons. And so they were a very physical team. And so going and play Michigan, Michigan was the most physical team I ever played in my entire life. Um, I ended up sitting out a quarter because I ended up getting like some minor concussion protocol because I got hit on the sideline after catching the ball. But they were hands down the most physical team, the most talented team we played all year, I believe. I think Ohio State, they schemed us up really well. I think that they were a program that, had a lot of talent, but their run defense wasn't nowhere near like Michigan. Like, I mean, Michigan, there was no holes, there was no gaps, there was nothing. But Ohio State, we had, running game going. I think they gave up 75 yards a game, and me and Lottie together had 140 together.
Yeah, I mean, you had
Um,
17 carries, 62 yards against Ohio State. Like, you were
yeah,
running.
exactly. And so, we were definitely moving the ball on them. And, those teams like that, the hardest thing about it is you don't have room for error. You have special teams, you don't have much room because they're good too. And so that's where it was, and it's hard to capitalize on those things. And, for the most part, that was the biggest difference was realizing that you can't make that many mistakes playing teams like that. So
All right. Then it's Purdue. Now, look, we grew up hating Purdue.
there you go.
You've
There you
only
go.
been with Indiana for a short while.
I'm the new kid on the block. I ain't know much.
You didn't know much. Did it get taught to you how much you're supposed to hate Purdue?
Mike Kadig would talk to me about Purdue since I got here. I mean, this dude, the only thing he was talking about was Purdue. I mean, when we went to the Big Ten Media Day, I'm like, dude, so tell me, like, I'm getting to know him. He's like, so tell me what team you don't like. I'm thinking he about to say, I don't know, Ohio State, Michigan. He said, Purdue. I hate those dudes. I can't stand them. And I'm like, that's the rival, right? And he's like, yes. Like, what is wrong with you shaking me up? And I pretty much, I grew him to be like, I pretty much was like, you know what? This is exactly what the town needs. This town needs us to dominate this team. Because I don't think they've ever seen us dominate Purdue before.
Not like that.
And so I was like, you know what? We're going to go out there and we're going to dominate them. If we do what we're supposed to, we're going to dominate them. So it was a great moment. I love that it snowed. I was praying for a snow game all year long.
Yes.
And so when I got one, it was like, man, this is icing on the cake. We're going to go out there and kill them in the snow and send them boys back home, wherever they from. So
Blood in the snow.
what is it, West Lafayette? Or,
Yeah,
It's the armpit of America. You're lucky you never had to play a game there. But how about this? Because in a rivalry game like this was an exceptionally lopsided year for the rivalry. There's been lopsided seasons before, but when did you know that you had broken their spirit completely? When did you know that the game was over?
I could see it in their defensive spaces. Like they just weren't out there for Coach Signetti, he always, he's a big film guy. He told us like we will break their will and you'll see it. And so, going from drive to drive, I could tell by, the defensive line is not going as hard, or the linebackers just kind of just like lillygagging and not really showing much effort, on a pass block, or, when we're scoring touchdowns, I look at body language. I'm seeing how, you're reacting when we score a touchdown. Are you somebody that's been like, all right, let's get it back? Or are you somebody that be like, drop your head down, look to your left and right. And they kept dropping their head down. So that's when I knew. I said, we got them. Them boys, they're not here ready to play. They just want to go home, and, they didn't even believe that they will come here and win. So, yeah.
All right. So you manifested so many things that happened in this year. You saw you cutting, you smelled the popcorn, you heard the fans coming up to you. But now it comes for the selection show to announce the 12 teams that are going to be in the college football playoff. You knew pretty much you're going to be in there. There wasn't a lot of controversy there. We knew Indiana was going to be there. But tell us about the moment. Where were you? What was it like when you saw them announce Indiana and put our name in that bracket?
So I was driving actually, and my mom was on the phone with my mom, and I think she might have been at the house. And my sister, who, I got a little niece now, so she take care of the baby. She was watching the show as well, and I was driving, and I'm like, update me, update me, update me. And my mom screams, she's like, Justice, like they got us in, we're in. I'm like, mom, okay, who we playing? Like I'm like. Who we playing? Like, tell me who we got. And she was like, we got Notre Dame. We got Notre Dame. You get another round. You get another time at them, another hit at them. I'm like, thank you, Lord. I'm like, this is awesome. And I'm just, at the time, man, I was just so like, it was just surreal for me, because I'm like, man, like, I remember when they told me, you know what I'm saying, Indiana wasn't going to be nothing. I remember when, I was sitting in the stadium remembering all these different things that were going to happen before it happened. And so when my mom told me we made the playoffs, yes, it was like wonderful that we're playing Notre Dame, but I was like, dude, like this is exactly what we've dreamed of, to be in this moment, to be able to say, man, I played in the playoffs before. I know what it's like. Yeah, you come up short sometimes, and nobody perfect, you know what I'm saying? And nobody perfect. So, but for the most part, man, it was like, I knew that we did everything we should have done to be where we got to.
But I got to ask,
Yeah.
how in the holy hell are you driving and not watching it on television?
Hey, I was so, I knew that we were going to be in the playoffs the whole time. Like, it wasn't a crazy thing to me, honestly, though. Like, it was almost like it was expected.
Act
It
like
was
you've been there before.
It was expected that we're going to be in the playoffs. It was expected. It wasn't like, I know some teams were kind of on the water. I heard Boise State. I heard, Miami. I heard a few other teams. But it was like, dude, come on now. Like, Indiana should be in the playoffs. Like,
Yes,
there's no
you earned
question.
it.
I'm like, we're, for the most part, and then also, too, if you look at you look at the whole season, right? The offense were very, very, we were very, very explosive all year, right? You get to a point where we're start getting to, Michigan, Washington. We start to have a little bit of differences going. We have to have a little bit of conflict. But for the most part, the team itself, the offense itself, I mean, defense, of course, has been balling out. They've been lights out too. But for the most part, like the offense, like we've been blowing out teams, right?
Yeah.
And so I knew there was a time where we're going to hit some adversity. I know there's going to be some games where it's going to be a little tough, because I played a lot of ball. I know what it's like having an explosive team and having some games where it's going to be different. And so I looked at the whole thing. I'm like, dude, we deserve to be here, man. And, I'm just thankful to be able to be a part of it. People call me to this day and they like, dude, do you know what y'all just did? Do you know? And I'm like, dude, like, I came there for 1 year and I wish I could have 5 more years out of you, man. Honestly, they, I truly bleed Crimson and Cream. Like that's my home for life. So
Oh,
I'll be back every year for
I
sure.
Oh,
love
that's
it.
beautiful to hear. And to be one of those people to be like, you beat the defending champs. You beat the defending runner-up. You took down Nebraska, one of the great programs in history.
Yeah.
You just absolutely kicked the shit out of our rival in historic fashion. And then you do go, and we don't have to get into the game itself, but to go play in the college football playoffs with the whole world watching at
3.2 mil.
I mean, that's no joke. And that's
3.2 mil.
and at Notre Dame at another historic venue against one of the great all-time programs.
Yeah.
Just as you walk away from your college experience, what does it mean to you to have been able to take that plan of like 4 years at Wake and then I want to go play at the highest level, and that's how you did it?
Man, when after the game, man, I sat down and I cried. I cried for so long, man. I cried for so long. I cried for so long. And it wasn't because of the game though. Like, yeah, I was sad that we lost. I knew that we didn't play well enough to be able to go on to the next level, and that's okay. But for the most part, I cried because I knew that when I came into college, I gave everything I had. And when I left Wake Forest, I told myself that I would almost try to break myself so that I could be able to have that much of an impact on this team because I wanted to win that bad. I wanted to experience winning. I wanted to be able to call. We had an offensive meeting after a scrimmage in the summertime, and we all were together, and I made everybody go around the room and tell each other, look your brother in your eye, tell them what you're trying to get out of this. And I went and I started off, and I said, what I'm trying to get out of this, it ain't about draft, it ain't about all of that stuff. I want to be able to call y'all 10 years from now and say, you remember when we did that and nobody believed in us? You remember when we changed the program and now this everybody's looking around and saying, wow, like they had a great year. And that's exactly, and that was before the season started. We had that meeting. And so that was my heart posture, man. And I had true intentions. And looking back on that game, looking back on the year, man, I'm so thankful I chose Indiana, man. I love that place, man. I love Indiana. I love Bloomington. Whether or not I played for 10, 15 years in the NFL or I played for 1 or 2, it doesn't matter what it is, I would never, ever regret or not be thankful for everything I experienced in Indiana. So,
Wow.
yeah,
Well,
man.
you've got millions of Indiana fans who are thankful that you are a Hoosier and will be a Hoosier for the rest of your life. I want to ask you kind of a difficult question in that, you talked about how Michigan was the most talented team, and there was a difference between some of those other games and the Ohio State game, the Michigan game, the Notre Dame game. What does Indiana have to do
Mm.
to take that next step? And what can you tell the fan base about the staff that we have, obviously led by Kurt Signetti, to give us your opinion on if we can take that step?
Well, for the starters, to answer your first question, man, I mean, what you must do is really get, you know, kind of surround your team, surround everybody on how important it is to be so detailed more than ever in those games. The details in those games, man, it's like, you know, we've been a detailed team, but for the most part, like you got to be really on your tip top game. Like, I mean, you can have a few hiccups, but for the most part, you can't really have a lot of, you can't have throw no picks. You can't fumble the ball. Like those things you can't happen. I'm not saying that we've had some mistakes happen, but to get to that next level, you really, really, really have to hone in on the details. It's whoever makes the less mistakes. And so for the most part, that's what we need to do. The great thing about the guys in our room, the guys in the staff, is they love football and they know what it takes to be great and they know what it takes to be consistent at a high level. And so those guys are going to do whatever they need to do, scheduling around getting those guys ready for the next stage to be able to let them know, hey man, like we gotta protect the football, we gotta take the football away, we gotta practice these things and make sure that we are ready to be at our peak performance come those game times. So for the most part, like I think Indiana football team is gonna have to take every game as its one first game. Like take every game as its own. Don't think too far ahead. Don't think too far in the past. Stay right in the middle. But when it's time to go play those big games at Oregon, I think they at Penn State next year. You got to be on your tip top game, and you can't be having mental mistakes because they will come back and haunt you. And I truly believe that this program will learn from the mistakes that we had this year.
So this is my great concern after having this conversation with you is that we're not only losing you on the field, that we are losing you in the locker room and as a leader.
Yeah.
I think we feel pretty good based on a recent conversation and podcast about the leadership that's coming back on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously losing you, losing Curtis. Do you feel good about the guys you're leaving behind who still should be in the locker room, particularly on your side of the ball? Like, do you know who those guys are who are going to step into the void that you're leaving? Or is that maybe something where that's part of the portal process too? You came in through the portal and provided that leadership.
Yeah.
So where can we feel okay that you're leaving and the whole thing's not going to fall apart?
Yeah, so I truly believe, I think that, it's a player-led team, and I think they have to come up with their own identity. The 2024, 2025 team is its own team. They have to find their new identity. The culture is going to be the same. That's the thing. The culture is going to stay the same. But for the most part, they have to find their own identity. They have to have their own roles of guys stepping up to the plate and making sure dudes are crossing the line. Dudes are making sure that they're getting on time in meetings. They're taking their shakes at the right time and taking their shots. And so, for the most part, man, I mean, I do believe in the guys that have coming back. I got a great opportunity to host Hemby,
Oh, you did.
running
I was
back.
going to ask you about him. What's your
I
take
got
on him?
great player, comes from great background. His father and mother, really cool parents, hardworking dude, and he's gonna be at a winning program, man. I'm happy for him. He's a lights out guy. He's a home runner. He can take it 90 yards if he has to. He can be able to get the ball down and in between the tackles and run hard, have hard runs. And so the guy, he's an excellent player. And one thing that I want to do, that I've already been doing, I have been kind of keeping in the loop and making sure that I'm still in dialogue with these guys and communicating with them, letting them know, hey, dude, like, you got to make sure you're vocalizing to your team. You got to make sure you're setting an example, because you're only strong by the product that you put in on the off season. And so I'm gonna make sure that I'm on the back end, talking to the players, and I know Coach Signetti will get them right as well. So I'm still gonna have my foot in the door while I'm have my future and all that great stuff. But I believe in the guys that we have coming back for sure.
All right. Favorite place to eat in Bloomington?
I like Crazy Horse. I like the Tap.
Okay.
I like there was one place that had amazing lamb chops. Oh my gosh.
Little Zagreb's?
No, it's like on a corner. It's right next to Social Cantina.
Oh, not Malibu. That's across
No,
the way.
Now, is it that barbecue place?
no, it's like a steakhouse. It's in the it's very in the cut. It's like on the backside of everything.
That's not Little Zagreb's?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Jenko's?
Jenko's.
Jenko's.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah. It's Jenko's Little Zagreb's.
Oh, okay. That's the full
I
name.
agree. Those
Jenko.
lamb chops are out of control.
Man, I probably went there 2 days in a row. I went there for one recruit, and I went there for another recruit. I was going from recruit to recruit. I said, I told Sinetti and them, y'all might as well hire me as a coach. You know what I'm saying? Because I was working, man. So I had a
Love
good
it.
time.
Well,
Love it.
look, I hope the day you have to really consider this is a long way away, 10, 15 years away. But when your time on the field is done, is coaching something you would consider, or have you even thought about what would happen when you're done running the ball?
Hands down, man. I think there's beauty in being able to help somebody else out, letting them know that like they, you believe in them. Because every time a coach told me that they believe in me, I was ready to run through Antarctica, freeze or whatever to get to where I need to get to. And so, for me, I really enjoy, the look on people's faces when, you tell them that I believe you can make this cut. I believe that you can do this and helping them get there as well. So I've thought about it multiple times. I know that my body has a lot more ball to play, and if that's the direction it ends up towing, then I definitely will. I would love to coach at IU one day.
All right, I got to ask you a stupid question before we let you go.
Okay.
You got great hair. You got the
Uh-huh.
braids. You got,
Yeah, yeah.
but doesn't it the in the helmet? Doesn't it fuck it up? Doesn't having too much hair
Nah,
inside the helmet? Doesn't it get all messed up?
nah. You just usually go like this. You just throw it back like this, and you put the helmet on, and it's all green and good, man. That's it. You all green and good. Hey, that's what
All
I've
right,
been doing.
Justice. Let me tell you something, man. We've been doing this podcast for
Way
over
too
6
long.
years,
Oh,
like
yeah.
over 300 episodes.
There you
And
go.
each one we've been blessed and fortunate to talk to greats, basketball, football, administrators, business people. We've had Mark Cuban on.
There
We've
you
had
go.
Anthony Thompson and Antoine Randall L on. We've had the greats, Calbert Cheney on the basketball side, Mike Woodson. Hell, Bob Knight came on our show when we did a special once. You are at the elite level of people. I mean this, man, of people, just people. You can tell you have a warmth. You are a special dude. And I'm obviously not an NFL scout, but any NFL franchise would be lucky to have you as part of their program. And I hope that when you're talking about having to run a 4.35 instead of a 4.37, the difference is so minute. I hope that whoever is watching realizes what you are. And obviously, meeting with you is part of the process. I cannot imagine that there are not many NFL franchises who are going to look at themselves and feel like they won the lottery if they get you on their team, man.
I
Besides what you
appreciate
do
that,
on the
man.
field, which was special to watch, what you are is just a special dude. And I feel fortunate. Talk about gratitude. I am thankful that you gave us this time to talk to you and get to know you. I love you, man. And I am
Thank you.
so proud that I get to call you a Hoosier, and I'm going to be following every bit of your career, whether it's running the football, coaching football. If you decide to go into business, you're going to be successful no matter what you do. And I want to stay in touch with you, man, because God, you got me so pumped up about everything you did this year and what's left behind and the culture that you built. I just love you and thank you and can't wait to watch what's in store for you in your career and your life.
Thank you guys so much, man. This whole thing has just been so thankful to my heart, man. I being on this thing, man, you made me feel I'm in Miami now. I'm in Miami and I just feel so close to Bloom, man. Like y'all on the phone, y'all. I know y'all in LA,
That's
but
right.
hey, Bloomington, it's from the heart. So, man, I appreciate you guys for having me on and I hope for us to stay connected and stay in touch for sure,
Let's
man.
get to Bloomington and go to Little Zagreb's together. That's what
Yeah.
we
Hey,
need to do.
that's the plan, man.
Let's
Y'all
do
lead
it.
the way. I'm gonna follow for
Let's
sure.
do it.
We'll see you
Thank
there,
you.
brother. Thank you, Justice.
Oh yeah, likewise, man. Y'all have a blessed night and have a blessed weekend as well.
That was a guest. That was a guest.
I think you might have freaked him out a little bit. I mean, you freaked me out a little bit.
Fine. Fine. I don't care. That son of a bitch is awesome.
Yep.
Like, perfect. He's everything you want in a human being and an athlete to represent the school that you love so much. He's everything.
It's terrifying. Like, you can't replace that. You can't replace that guy. It's terrifying. I feel like it's all going to collapse now that he left.
But he's like, I'm going to be talking to them. Like
It'll
he's
help.
not. I mean,
It'll help.
He was there for 9 months.
I kept saying to myself, like, I can't believe like how he is everything you need to establish a new culture at a new program. And no wonder Sig jumped up and ran around the room like a crazy person when Justice said, I'm in. Because like I'm sure Sig had spent hopefully as much time as we just got to. It doesn't take long. It didn't take 2 hours to realize what kind of dude I think inside 10, 15 minutes, you realize, oh, this is a very special individual. So however much time Sig had, by the time that news came across the desk that this guy was showing up in Bloomington, that's how you completely flip a program that's been largely embarrassing for a century. That's you bring in a guy like that and everybody else follows.
And that's why it's more than just stats. It's more than just a guy who can run. Because there were plenty of running backs who ran the football probably as well as he did this year. There's great studs. It's more than that.
Just go up to Indianapolis where you got dozens and dozens of dudes making millions and millions of dollars. And right now they're calling each other out in the media because some of them weren't giving enough effort. Some of them let ego get in the way of having a decent team this year. And those are professionals. It's like to be able to come in as a young man. Yes, he had 4 years at Wake Forest, which even there, the maturity to have the vision of what he needed to do for himself to get ready to become this guy at this place.
To know that he wasn't ready?
Yeah. You talk about vision, not just on the field, but of your own shortcomings and how you can move past them and achieve what you want. Just we could spend another 2 hours talking about that guy and how I realize all of my shortcomings still at this point in my life. And that if I could just take a little bit of that, and heaven forbid, if I had been like that at 22, I mean, I'll tell you this, I wouldn't be doing this podcast with you right now.
Yeah, man, I hear you. What a special, special guy. And thank you, Kurt Signetti, for doing this for Indiana football.
Yeah.
Because I get the sense we've now had 2 weeks where we've talked to two of them. And also, let's not forget Tyler Cherry. We had him on after he made his commitment. He was a special young man. This program is littered with special dudes. Mikhail Kamara is a special dude. Justice is special. Tyler was special. And we're hoping to bring some more of those special dudes to this podcast coming up because this program and these players deserve the spotlight. Football's a tough sport to get the spotlight if you're not the quarterback. It is a really tough one. They wear helmets. You just don't know them the same way. There's so many of them. It's not like basketball. But holy shit, was I impressed with that young man. And I do love him. And I know I told him I loved him 2 times. It's weird to tell a dude you just met you love him twice in the span of about 14 seconds. But I stand by it. I love him. And I love what Indiana football is right now. So follow us on Twitter or X, if you like to call it X, at Hoosier Hysterics for the hysterics. No E.
No I.
But the sometimes why.
Woody?
We should have had him do it.
We should have. We could probably ask him to, and he would probably do it for us.
Man, he's training to go into the NFL, and it's 11-17 in Miami. I felt a little bad.
I'm not going to ask him now.
Yeah, but I felt a little bad. I was like, I hope, but he seemed to be having a good time. I didn't feel that bad.
All right, man. Awesome stuff. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Indiana, our Indiana, we're all for you. We will fight for the cream and crimson, for the glory of old IU. Never daunted, we cannot falter. In the battle, oh, we're tried and true. Indiana,